Okay, let's get started. So last time, um, I kind of got stuck because I'm coming from other languages that have kind of well-developed dependency injection mechanisms. And in these languages, creating this kind of layering, um, bring up the image. So bringing in this kind of layering is less of a problem because as the system builds its structure, it automatically injects database connections into things and those things into other things and so forth, so that you are able to kind of live in the context of this layer or that layer and have most of your stuff kind of just handled for you. So we don't really have that in Go. So I did a quick look around, and it seems that code generation is a popular way to handle dependency injection. I'm not such a huge fan of code generation, and I know it's probably a mistake with Go, since a lot of solutions rely on um, some kind of code generation. The other option is to take a look at what I've done here. And so we could write a dependency injection framework thing. I'm not saying complete one, but maybe we could do something such as uh, have something like a type like uh, 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 image repository, and that would have a the metadata service in here. So we might call it service meta. So let's create a placeholder for the metadata service. And we might annotate it with some additional things like, you know, I don't, well, anyway, let's leave it at that. So I know oh, two L's. So I know that an image repository depends on a metadata service, and a metadata service depends on a DB caller. And as long as we know how to instantiate this, then we can instantiate this, right? And then we can instantiate this. And down in my code, I'd be able to say, okay, give me the image repository. So I could say something like, so I have some response writer, request. So somewhere down here, I would say you know, get something like that, then we would say dm get instance, and maybe I called my image repository image tory. Of course, we'd have to do if so handle error, and so down here we'd be able to say repository get image blah blah blah. All right, so that is my thinking, and to do that we kind of have to open up reflection. So I started playing around with this. I'm not really that strong on reflection. It's not something I spend a lot of time with. For the most part, it's the kind of thing that, you know, authoring a library you'd spend time in. Now, because Go doesn't have uh, um, generics, we can't do some of the nice things that we can do in other languages to get back a typed instance of something. So it's tough to get back a typed instance, but you get back an interface which you can then cast to the thing, and it wouldn't be that hard to write a few wrapper functions to essentially return to you a typed instance. So my thinking is we could have, say for example, factories. And the ability to simply register a thing. So if we had something like this, we could call make instance if we knew we had a factory, excuse me, and we could call that if we knew we had a specific instance of something. So if so if we go and get the thing, and then we so let's get its type, and its instance if so what could it be here? It could be a string, an interface, an array. So we don't know what this could be. So really the only thing that is handled differently would be a function. So in this case we have handle a zero argument function, else in this case we return the thing itself. So let's clean up this from my kind of initial investigation. Let's clean that up. And let's make these more real. So let's go get my data package. So this is the nice thing about having clean layers. I can just bring in the data package from my stuff, and we can look at oh, we need to bring in some additional dependencies as well. We need to bring in PGX and PGX pool. So let's go ahead and register a pool. Let's go see if that's right. It is localhost. It is what is it? No. Hash user. And the database name is file hash. Hash user and file hash. Hash user and file hash. Okay, so let's fix our config. Okay. So let's go ahead and open up a new pool. So let's create a new pool. We'll okay, we go ahead and bail if we don't get a DB URI. Okay, let's go ahead and create a new pool. We're not going to worry about registering it. So I wouldn't normally use this method. I'd use the connect config so that I could set up a configuration to register any custom types that I have, but we'll use this for now. So this returns back a pool and error. You know what, if we don't have a database connection, our application doesn't make any sense, so we can just bail at this point. I was feeling a little claustrophobic. All right. Now, actually, let's move the creation of dependency manager up top. So we can start saying dm.register db and we can register the db URI. dm.register pool All right, so at this point, let's get rid of this. Let's say we wanted to get our pool. So in some function, so let's create a function. So we get an instance of a thing, and it returns back an interface. So we say, you know, thinking about the way this would work would be something like, so if we can't Actually, this is so if we can't cast it to a pool pointer, we fail to get the pool, and we go ahead and return. Now we're able to use the pool. We're just going to do a simple select. We close the rows. And what else do we do here for next? Okay. Actually, we're not gonna do that. We're just gonna go ahead and call it. What is that? Oh. Okay. So it would be something like this. So in the dependency manager, we get an instance of the thing. So it's either a function where we have a zero argument function, or returning the thing itself. Else, return nil, I think. So returning the thing itself. I think that's what we want. Okay, so what this is doing is it's getting the value, the type of, so we're returning back something from, actually we should probably do this. Okay. Okay. So this method of accessing a map, it'll return back a value for here, or if there's no such value, then this returns false, so we can just return nil at this point. This will still work because it'll cast my pool to nil. I think it'll still work. Let's see. Anyway, so let's play with this for a little bit. So let's go ahead and run this. This should return back the pool that I registered. Okay, yes, it worked. So we go through here. Let's go ahead and set a breakpoint in here. Okay, there's our debugger. So let's go ahead and set a break. So let's start walking through a breakpoint. So we set up our variables and we do our get instance. Okay. My pool is a type of pool. So we've gone ahead and gotten the instance. And been able to cast it to a pool, and we can now run our code, right? Let's debug into it one more time, and let's go down to where we do this. So we do a get instance. So we get what we get back from guts after we register for the registered pool is something of type, it's an interface, but the underlying type is pointer to a PGX pool. So we get past this point because we did get a value back. If the name hadn't been registered, this would have been false, and we would have returned nil. Okay. So let's get the type, and let's take a look at what the type is. See if we can call t.kind. So the kind is a pointer. So it's not a function, and therefore we're just going to return the interface. Since I could register things besides pools here, right? I could have things that are not pools, in which case I can't really send. I mean, I could have convenience methods, right? I could have get pool as a convenience method because a lot of applications are going to have database pools, and it would make sense to have a get pool, right? But if I'm going to have a generic one, like this could be a pool, this could be an integer, this could be a pointer to a struct, this could be a whole bunch of different things, I don't know, but I return back the interface. So when I return it back, I'm then, because the type is a pool, I'm able to cast it to a pool and everything's fine. Okay. All right. So let's get rid of these. That's visual noise at this point. Okay. So now let's see what happens if we try to get back pool X. Let's go ahead and close the debugger and just run it. Failed to get pool. So let's go ahead and debug it to see what's happening. So let's drop into get instance. So in this case, the name's not found, right? So it's the wrong type, so we return nil. And we failed to cast it to a pool. So this OK, we return nil, so this we weren't able to cast it to a pool, so this OK is false. So that's reasonable behavior, right? What happens if we register instead of a PGX pool? Let's say we register, let's say this is DBURI instead. No, it's, well, let's see what would happen. Let's just see what would happen. So let's go ahead and debug it. So let's drop into our get instance function. So we did get a value back, right? This is a valid value, it's just not a pool pointer. So we get back the kind. Yes, it's a string 24, a string of 24 characters length. It's not a function, and we're going to go ahead and return the interface. Aha! But because it is not in fact a pool, it is a DB URI. Um, we um, we can't cast that to a PG pool pointer. So again, that's actually pretty reasonable. We say we fail pretty safely, right? Okay. And we could definitely let's go back and fix this so I'm not surprised. We could definitely have convenience methods like um, and this would be a pointer to PGX pool. Or we could do an error, and we could do so now we've got something from the dependency manager. We don't know if it's a database pool, but we've gotten something. And we're really just going to do the same thing we did here. We're going to say okay, if we don't have a pool, what are we going to do? We are going to return nil, and we could do errors new failed, actually thumped. Okay, and else return my pool. All right, so we could have a convenience method like that, right? So if we know we're returning a pool, great. So this literally would become something like dm get pgx pool, and this would be my pool air, and if air not equals nil, to my pool. Okay. All right, that is, I can live with that. That's a reasonable. The other flip side is we have a factory function, right? So there are times when we want to register a function to return back a new instance of whatever we want. So let me give you two examples. I have a request handler, And at the top of my request handler, for every request, I want a new whatever. Could be a new what's a good like request scope thing to have? Not a database connection. Well, yeah, so let's say it's a database connection. So I want to have a request scoped database connection. In this case, it wouldn't be a fresh database connection, right? It would be off the pool. But what I'd want to do is I'd want to register a function. So this function would be something like, so I've got a pool here, right? So what I want to do is func, let's call this connection factory. And it's going to be a 0 argument function. And what it is going to do, and it's going to have a return type of interface. Why does it have a return type of interface? Because I need to write the code in a very generic manner. At least for now. Maybe this isn't necessary, but let's just start with this just to see where we can go. So we've got a connection factory, and what we're going to do is we're going to say pool and we're going to say acquire we're just going to go ahead and return that. And let's see, acquire returns two things, right? Con and an error. So con error if error not equals nil, return nil. And we probably want to log at this point, right? Probably want to say log printf failed to build new, failed to get new connection. All right, return nil. Otherwise, return con. Okay, so this connection factory, and we're going to go ahead and register it. Con factory. So what do we want to do here? We want, so we got that one. So let's create another, well, actually let's put it above here. So it's okay. Let's go ahead and create another function. Con, let's see, if con okay equals get instance and this should return to me. Let's see, acquire return. What does acquire return? Excuse me. Returns a pointer to con, so this should return a pgx.con pointer. Not okay. Else. So we can just go ahead and just copy this. And I do believe we want to does the pool have I think con has release or something like that. Anyway, okay, so we can run this. Oop, we got an error. Where is our error? There we go. We can run this. Oh, we failed to get the connection factory. So let's go ahead and step into this. Let's go, do we have any other? Nope, that's good. So let's go ahead and step into that. Oh, we haven't filled this in. Okay, fine. So now we have a function, right? So because it's a zero argument function, we can go ahead and so it's going to return back an array of values. Okay. So we're only going to return the first result. We're going to return the first result, so now I believe if we run it, oops. Okay, let's debug it. Okay, so we go ahead and we get the type is now what did I ask for the function? Yeah, I asked for con factory. What's the name? Yeah, con factory. So it's an instance. Oh, I called it. Whoops. Okay. So this shouldn't be a call. This should be just the function. Okay. Now let's debug this. Okay, so we go in and get instance. Step into here. So now we've got a function. So our kind is now function. And since it is a func, we step into here. And the results we get are a pointer to something. We don't know what it is, but we're returning back the interface from that value. So we still fail to get a connection factory. Okay, let's debug it one more time and let's see what's going on. So what do we have here? Results.0. So let's do that. Results. So that is a connection, a PGX pool connection. So let's step out. So one more time. Let's drop into there. Oh, it's a PGX pool connection. Oh, yeah, I'm trying to cast it to a PGX connection. So if instead of that, we were to connect it to a PGX pool con, and I believe that allows con to have a release. Yes, okay. There we go. So now if I run this, yes, there we go. Both things go. So in this case, in this function, what I wanted to get is a factory function, and in this case, I wanted to get a thing itself. Sure, this could require this could use a little bit of cleanup and maybe some better error handling, but not much. And make instance was my first crack at it. Make instance is a little bit different. Make instance takes the name of a thing that you want and then a series of parameters. It's only meant for functions, and it's meant when you want to pass a set of parameters to functions. For example, let's say I want a function that constructs me a proper a proper image repository, and what I have in hand is an interface to the database. I could register a function that takes a pointer to the database and maybe other parameters. I don't know what would be good here, but we then execute a method. So what we do is we take, it doesn't work if it's not a function, so we check to see if the kind is function, and right now there's a panic in there, but we need to change that out to something else. And then it executes it takes the parameters and creates an array of values from the parameter, so we can call the method and we just take the first result. And again, this could be cleaned up, and there might be ways that we could do this better. For example, we could return a slice of interfaces. So that would allow us to register methods that return multiple parameters. We could return a slice of interfaces and an error. Because we can always take the function, look at the end, the last we can always take the resulting, so call returns an array of values or a slice of values. We can always look at the end of that slice of values and see if we've got an error at the end of that slice. And if we do have an error, although, yes, if we do have something that matches the interface error, I think we can do that. I'm pretty sure we can do that. Then return error, but at the very least, we could definitely return back a slice of interfaces if we want to handle multiple values. Yes, so this is in the case where we want to pass some parameters. So that's in the case where we want to do something like dm make instance foo, and we want to pass 1, 2, ABC, pool, something. So we have thing, and then we can, so that's what that's meant for, which I think would cover most of my needs. So this is kind of a poor man's dependency injection. I'm sure it could be better. I'm sure it could be better. But yeah, so anyway, we're getting to the end of time. So yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and incorporate this into the other code. And that will allow me to manage my dependencies at the layer level. There's still the question of how do I get a hold of a dependency manager. But what I'm thinking about doing is running this actually as a Go routine and then calling into it as a service. So I would just keep a method to return back essentially a static or a variable that points to the channel, so I can just call into the channel and say, hey, get me a thing, and have the channel return back to me a thing. Anyway, that's it for today. I will see you again tomorrow.